Episode 37 for Monday, December 17th, the last episode of 2012. Going live in 3, 2, 1. This Week in Blizz is proudly sponsored by DoghouseSystems.com. If you use the code TWIB at checkout, that's TWIB, you will get double memory on your next Doghouse system. We thank DoghouseSystems.com for their support of This Week in Blizz. And also TweakedAudio.com. Go to tweakedaudio.com for high-performance, noise-reducing earbuds. Use our code TWIB to get 30% off plus free shipping on your next order, and support This Week in Blizz in the process.
Armed and ready. What's up?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the last episode of This Week in Blizz for 2012. I am Garrett Weinzierl.
I'm Ben Seifel.
And I'm Kyle Ferguson.
And this is a show keeping you up to date on the worlds of Blizzard Entertainment. At least for this week. We will not be keeping you up to date for the next couple weeks as we celebrate with our families the different holidays, even though I don't think any of us are regular churchgoers, are we?
We're modern folk.
We're modern folk, yes. We like to enjoy all of the fun and joy and convenience of Christmas without all of the important stuff about why the holiday is even around.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's.
I like me a good Coca-Cola Santa, really.
Yeah, exactly. I like Santa and gifts and charities. I do like some of the important stuff. I'm just not a church-going dude. But that's not why we're here. We're here to indulge in the most cherished of Christmas traditions, drinking too much. Well, not too much. We'll probably keep it quite light today. But if you guys turned in last week, you know we got an email from a listener named JT, and he came up with drinking game rules for This Week in Blizz, which we may or may not adhere to today. So, around the table, what's everyone drinking tonight, Mr. Ben?
I have a probably well over a year-old Newcastle that you left at my place, which I'm drinking now.
Good to know. Good to know. I'm
still tastes great. I mean,
yeah, I'm drinking the same, except it's a lot newer.
And this is a good vintage.
Yeah, vintage. Nothing like vintage beer, man.
That's right.
And Kyle, what are you drinking today?
You know what? I finally decided to admit to myself that I have the constitution of the wizard I proclaim myself to be. I'm horrible at drinking. I'm going to avoid it. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm not a drinker. I don't do that kind of thing. But, you know, people show up anyway because they want to see people get messed up. So I thought for the drinking game, I would play Jenga, which is kind of like drinking.
All right. Oh.
And each time we here declare that it is drinking time, I will extend the tower.
All right, well,
you know,
there now has to be a way we win. So when one of us triggers a block to be removed, does that count as our turn?
Well, I'm taking all the turns naturally because I've got the Jenga tower here in my house.
I think this will be a collective effort to keep the Jenga tower from falling.
Yes.
Okay.
Collective effort on my part.
Kind of more of a PvE scenario.
Well, and you know, just like actual drinking is. You have to verse everyone. Make sure you don't make too big of a fool of yourself and fall over.
All right, so we're raiding a Jenga tower, the three of us.
Yep.
We're doing a 3-man raid. It's basically a scenario, but more interesting than any of the ones that are currently in the game.
Slightly more story.
Yeah, slightly more story and interest going on. So to refresh everyone's memory, if you do not remember from last week, we will be drinking or playing Jenga every time that Kyle talks about lore. I hate on BWC. Kyle brings up a completely unrelated subject in the middle of an in-depth conversation.
Now, hang on here. How is this in-depth? Ben's in-depth? Because then we're going to do a 2 knockout when Ben goes off on some sort of statistic thing and I interrupt him with a lore topic. Because that's what happens. And I highly doubt Garrett's going to be talking about BWC too much.
Do you just shove her over the tower in that case? Or?
Well, to be completely honest, I don't know if you read some of the notes this week, but there's a lot of stuff going on at BWC, and I think our writer did it on purpose.
He sure did.
He listened
There we go.
to the. Well, I haven't hated on it yet. I have to hate on BWC.
You had a tone. I read into it.
All right, whatever. Anyways, we also have to drink anytime that Garrett talks about MKP or anytime Kyle talks about DRG. We have to drink anytime I whine about Zerg. Anytime that Ben talks about some kind of statistic that only the hardest of hardcore theory crafters would enjoy. Anytime Ben describes anything as tremendous. Anytime Ben accidentally cuts someone off. If there is nothing new to say about Diablo 3, everyone drink now! Go! Because there's jack shit today. Woo! And,
I am doing the one-hand rule, by the way. You can have 2 fingers, but you can't use both hands. That's cheating in Jenga.
Okay.
That's a good rule.
Never heard
Is that a house rule?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it comes with the box.
And then the final rule is anytime Garrett says freaking. So that'll probably happen a lot, and drink because I just said it. So thank you, JT.
We're gonna run out of drinks for the box.
We are. Well, I've got plenty, but yeah. Ben, you can go get like rubbing alcohol or the wine that Abby cooks with, because we all know the bottle of wine that we keep just for cooking is the tastiest wine in the world.
I think I've got some mineral spirits and some lighter fluid in there.
I said drink, not poison yourself.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. So that's good stuff.
It gives you quite a buzz before you go completely blind.
One last disclaimer at the top of the show. If you hear my voice going in and out, it is because I attended a rock concert of one of my favorite bands this past weekend, and I'm very, very hoarse. So there's that. Hopefully, though, it just means I'll be talking in this kind of deeper tone all night, and I'll just sound sexier instead of sicker. So it's good stuff. Anyways, guys, let's kick it off. The final episode of 2012 with this week's World of Warcraft. Oh, I had to mute the mic because I already had my first beer burp of the night. Patch 5.2 is coming soon. Everybody, this was confirmed by in an interview with lead encounter designer Ion Hazakostas. This was an interview conducted by Convert to Raid. Awesome podcast. WoW podcast. If you're not listening, I highly recommend it. He said that patch 5.2 will include a large and more traditional raid tier. It has been a while since we had a raid zone that was as large as Ulduar or Ice Crown, and Blizzard will be talking about what will be in it and how many bosses very, very soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that.
Cool.
I'm excited about that. So last week we talked about how they said they don't want to see any more raids with only 6 bosses, and we were like, well, do they mean they want less or more? Obviously now they want more, and I'm totally down with this. I mean, Ulduar and Ice Crown are hands down my favorite 2 raids ever, and part of that, I think, obviously ICC, you all know my bias towards Arthas and the entire Lich King lore. But the scope of those raids, I think, is one of the reasons that they're so freaking great. Crap, I said freaking, whatever.
The cool thing now with all the daily quests expanding the story in the background as well, if you can't get into that raid, you still feel like you were there, you were part of something. Yeah, someone else killed the guy, but you still knew what was going on. In the past, you saw it from afar. One day a statue and a plaque was built in the main town, and I guess they killed him. That was it, guys. Enjoy the movie.
Yeah, that's a good point. Ben, any thoughts on that? On like the What's your opinion on the amount of bosses?
Yeah, it seems like a lot. It seems like a lot, but then again, you think about this raid tier and you go, oh, well, it's actually a similar amount. It's just split up over multiple things.
Right.
And from a more casual perspective of like LFR and stuff, we'll see the same thing. You know, it'll be broken down into 3 boss groups, so I wouldn't worry about it too much, or 5 boss groups, or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah, and if you remember, Ulduar and Ice Crown were also gated off for weeks at a time. You can only do one wing, and then the next wing would unlock, and so on and so forth.
And I wouldn't be too surprised to see like long-term habits forming where like certain raids are just, saving the lockout, that kind of thing. But, people did perfectly fine in big old raids, so I don't see why that'll change.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. It excites me. Still, any of you guys been mulling around in your head what you think the next raid is going to be lore-wise, like what we're going to tackle?
I don't know, but I'm genuinely interested. I really want to know, because I think it'll be a whole new direction, and I'm convinced it's going to be on that island that we discussed.
Yes. Yeah. Did anyone fly out there and make sure we could not get there?
I'm pretty sure you can't.
Okay. Very, very cool. So
I'm just hoping it's not another Shaw.
The Shaw of some other emotion you haven't quite expressed yet.
The
Shaw of the island that didn't load.
The Shaw of awkwardness. He's 13 and getting pimples.
I mean, it's like X-Men. Eventually, you just get crap emotions.
Yeah, that's very, very true. So some of the other, some more interesting tidbits from the interview with Ion Hazakos is he also sat down and was interviewed by Method as well. He said that the addition of LFR has allowed Blizzard to target normal difficulty more towards organized guilds and play together, or that play together, and use voice chat. Previously, normal difficulty was used by both organized guilds and pugs, which made it somewhat easier than intended. So, I mean, do you think they went too hard, Ben? I mean, you and I are obviously
I was wondering if you're going to bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Here is a glimpse into our life as WoW Raiders. We are struggling hard. Like, I don't think I've ever struggled this hard in a raid before.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't know what we're doing wrong.
I don't think we're actually doing anything wrong, is the thing. Like, we're just not doing it very much.
True. I don't know.
Like, but there's no single instance I can point to going, oh, obviously we screwed up there because of this, right? I mean, it's just not the case.
Well, I don't know. I mean, considering the the third of the three potential raids is now out and has been out for a while, I find it very disconcerting that we're wiping out the third boss of the first raid.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. But, I mean, you bring that up, but then you actually look at the breakdown of, like, on our server, of the number of people who have actually set foot in the third raid, and it's something like 8 guilds.
Okay. All right.
It's not that high. So the intention was it's more like a sort of gated ice crown kind of thing you're talking about, rather than, like, hey, the next tier is here, you should be moving along, right? We can't. It's easy to interpret it that way, but that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, and I'm sure when 5.2 comes out, we will see this kind of ease of access to the previous tier of gear so that everyone can kind of get up to speed and get in there, which is what they have done for the past 2 expansions now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, like, you bring up... this is the hardest one you've ever progressed in, but think about it. How frequently have you actually... rated in the first tier of a given expansion when gear levels are still pretty low?
Just for Wrath of the Lich King.
Right, which was Nax, which was a joke.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
But to me, it felt like we had, you know, substantial sort of gearing challenges to work with too. Like, I don't know. It was just. I think everybody experiences that. There's by no means an excuse, and we're not that great. But I don't feel like we're necessarily doing anything wrong. It's just it can be a little bit brutal going up against the same few bosses.
Right. Now pulling back kind of away from our personal experiences with it. I mean, just as in a grander scheme, do you think, you know, are you feeling that? Do you believe that this is harder than, say, the first tier of Kata, the first tier of ICC, or of not ICC of Wrath? I mean, obviously,
you know,
we just kind of discounted
I have
Nax.
nothing to really compare it against.
Okay.
I can only use my own experiences to talk about that kind of thing. And I mean, in Nax, I was I was completely new to raiding. Like, that was the first raid I ever did, right? So I have nothing to compare it to. I was a complete noob.
Yeah.
And then I never raided the first tier of Kata.
Yeah.
Like, I came in at the very end of it when they were already clearing it.
That's a very good point. Kyle, I mean, I know you haven't gotten a chance to raid this specific expansion, but you raided in vanilla.
Yeah. It was a little different then. It was more like, who wants to kill a dragon? And everyone go, yay! You there, level 59. Come on! Let's go!
Let's spend 2 hours clearing out the trash, and then maybe we'll get one boss down.
Oh, yeah, and 40-man was practically just an excuse to see people die around you. It had nothing to do with survivability or the gear you had.
Yeah.
So times have changed. I think a better analogy would be my Kara experience back at the day with Karazhan.
Oh my god, I love that raid so
and
much.
actually, you know, in the beginning of Burning Crusade, trying to smash your head through that. And it was hard. And I watched you guys. You were streaming 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
When you guys got to a troll boss.
That's the one we're talking about. We have made, actually, I think we made backwards progress. We did worse this past week than we did when we first got to him.
Well, and he was laying the smackdown, but
yeah, he's definitely a DPS check. There's his enrage timer
we encountered
is so.
where
Yeah, he has
we
such
basically didn't have the DPS. It wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't a matter of we were messing it up. It was just we don't have the gear to do this,
Right.
No,
or,
and that's
you know,
what it looked
or
like.
the skill to pull off the DPS needed.
Which is funny because there's only 2 bosses before him, and the gear they drop is crap. So I don't know how we're gonna get better gear.
Well, it's a lot like Prince, or I forget his name, but the mage that was just, he stood in the middle of the room, didn't do much, lit the bookshelves on fire.
Shade of Iran.
Was that him in Karazhan?
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that was Shade of Iran. The one where if you moved out of the circle, it was actually a bad thing and you killed the whole freaking raid.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like it looks like those sort of things where the guy is literally just standing there being a boss, but you can't beat him because some bizarre reason someone doesn't have the right heal, someone's not. Whereas the other boss I saw you guys take down quite easily. Everyone knows how to tank. Everyone knows how to. 2 people know how to tank and tank 2 bosses. So that stuff's always good.
I mean, he basically at a certain, like after I think it's 5 minutes or something elapses, he just flips out and kills everybody in the raid. Like you have to kill him before then, or it's over. So it's we just have to do more damage.
Yeah, and I'm gonna flip the roles here on you. I'm gonna get all lower on you, Kyle. How dare you just call him some mage? That guy is Medivh's father.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Still have no idea why there was a demon on top of the place.
Don't just.
Something
Just
about
let it
Jordan.
go.
Yep. And the fact that everyone just took to calling him Prince instead of Prince Malkazar, it just made me always like before I ever saw him, I literally thought of Prince in a purple suit with a guitar.
That's exactly what I just thought of.
Oh, good. I'm glad I'm not alone. Anyways, Hazakos has also said that item upgrades will have an effect similar to the Dragon Soul nerfs, making raids easier over time. Praise the Lord. Raise the roof.
That is assuming that everybody's doing dailies and doing LFR, which is definitely not the case with our raid, which is probably another reason that we're not doing so hot.
No.
So this organically does the sort of Dragon Soul nerfs by just giving people steady access to slight gear upgrades and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But so only people who are actually doing
Playing the game.
dailies will see the exactly, who are actually playing the game will see sort of rewards from this. But that goes for almost everything. Like it's interesting now because it used to be very much a situation where you could log in once a week and kill a few bosses in raid, and that was it. But now it doesn't feel that way anymore. I think that's part of our problem too, actually, is that we have very few people that actually play during the week.
Yeah, that was a very good point.
As far as our core raid group goes, there's actually a lot of other people on all the time. But
Yeah, well,
look at the way alts are treated right now as something that needs help to be upgraded. It used to be that you would play as much of the game as you can a day, and then you'd play alts the rest of the week. Now there's so much to do that alts require buffs on the side.
exactly.
Yes, and then finally he said in Asia, all 25 player bosses have 8% more health and do 8% more damage. They also drop gear that is 8 item levels higher. I find that odd.
Cool.
Yeah, that's just weird. Very, very weird. I mean, we saw...
The only reason I could come up with this is there's a higher chance that these players are actually playing all together in a single room because of the cafe culture there.
Do you think that's actually helping? Like, if you're at a LAN party as opposed to talking over an event, do you think that would actually improve your raid performance?
I think so.
Yeah? Okay. No, a genuine question. Like, I don't know.
If I could turn around and smack people...
Hey, no. Get out of the woods.
I would exercise that. I would exercise that freedom. Anyways. So, yeah. We have links to both of these interviews in their fullest on the show notes over at thisweekinblizz.com, or at least it will be tomorrow.
I wonder if this is an attempt to sort of capitalize on the whole, like, sort of pro-gamer culture that we see in Korea and a little bit in China and stuff.
Yeah, well, when we saw, I think it was certain countries in Asia get multiple lockouts for 10 and 25, but no one else does. And this has been
the
going
argument
on.
that these were cultural differences. I mean, I can understand that. Like, that does kind of make sense in a certain context. I'm curious if this is being used as a test bed for other markets as well.
Yeah.
Like, if this does well, whether they will then apply it to other markets and see how it does.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next thing that we've got on the list is the loss of control alert visual changes. Basically, you can now, obviously since the patch, there's the whole loss of control visual alert thing, which I'm a huge fan of personally.
I think we should.
It's nice to go, why are my buttons not working? Did my add-ons break? Is not the great way to find out that you're being CC'd.
Right. Let's recap that real quick, just in case anyone's not up to speed. This is when you are silenced or stunned or anything where you cannot use your abilities other than they are on cooldown. Blizzard recently said what you just said, Ben. That it just kind of feels unresponsive, and this is not a good visual cue.
Exactly. It just feels like the game broke.
Yeah.
Rather than anything else. But anyway, so you can obviously uncheck them, turn them off, and they're sort of like associated with it. All your buttons go on cooldown, and it's kind of a unique looking cooldown. So now you can turn them off, and but if you do, it also turns off that cooldown on your buttons, which is kind of important. I wish there was more granularity to how to customize this.
I mean, it is brand new though, so who's to say this is
sure
the
we'll see
last of the changes that we're going to see? Yeah.
And it won't be affected by certain things. Like if all your stuff is on cooldown anyway, that'll take priority. But that's not real important. I'm sure you'll discover that pretty quickly playing the game.
Yeah, it's just a little more nuanced now. Like it
which is nice.
Takes into account what's already going on with your character, which is good. Yeah.
Yep.
It's just better, and I really like this thing. Kyle, have you noticed much of this? I know you're still leveling. I don't know how many things are like silencing you and disarming you and etc. But
No,
no,
it doesn't really happen.
I still haven't started PvPing yet, but I'm probably going to be getting into it soon after Christmas because I've been leveling my hunter and I cannot wait to start PvPing on him.
If by leveling your hunter, you mean playing Mass Effect, then yes.
I've been doing both. And I just
impressive. That's impressive, actually.
It's the holiday, man. Things are slowing down. I've got game time. Although then I'll be leaving for a family like Christmas vacation thing, so I won't be playing Jack for like 5 days. But, anyways, yeah, I've been doing both. My hunter's almost 87. He's getting up there. He was 83 when I started, so.
I can see being the kid in the airport trying to push his Xbox through the X-ray machine.
Used to be like that, but now I welcome being like somewhere where I cannot get a cell phone call. Like,
oops, forgot my phone.
Oh man, Octane Pro isn't asking me to upload more crap. Thank God. Inside baseball.
Yeah, please fix this stuff so we can actually all use the content you created.
Yeah. Before we move on to the StarCraft, anyone got any fun WoW stories from the past week? I tried to solo chess. I tried the two-man chess in Karazhan, and it did not go well.
You should be able to do it.
I've read strats about how you can solo it, and I tried it. I gave it 5 tries before I was about to put my fist through my monitor.
Huh.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of RNG when it's just 2 people moving pieces around.
I bet.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, that, and I picked up a good chunk of my redemption set, so I just need my skirt and chest.
Cool.
Yeah. I was just helping one of our guildies get some stuff out of there, and I was like, I'll bring my pally, maybe I'll get some of my redemption set, and like almost all of it dropped. I was so stoked.
Yeah, kind of like when we did ICC, and you got like all the DK lookalike gear.
I need the pants and the boots, and I'll have that full. Oh, and the helmet.
I need to know where the boots come from because I don't have the boots.
I know. I'm not sure. I think that might be a heroic only drop if I remember correctly.
I need those.
I would kill for that helmet though.
It is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've been barely playing any Blizzard games this week. It's been kind of nice to take a break. I kind of go in waves, I kind of like burn out on this stuff and then get back into it, and play it like all the time like crazy, and then back out of it slowly again.
Oh, that is me with StarCraft, definitely.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely.
It's like it'll just be 1 month where I'm just like all StarCraft all the time. Let's do teams. Let's do ones. Mork just roll me over with Banelings. Let's go. And then it's just like I just want to watch GSL and enjoy the game and not be stressed out by the thought of constantly dying.
It is very sort of on or off. You know, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get good at this game. That's what's gonna happen, and I'm gonna do it now, and I'm gonna kill all these nerds, and I'm gonna do it like a pro. And then I do that for a few weeks, and then afterwards, yeah, I just like sob and eat ice cream and watch it. So.
Man, your guys' schedule sounds so young compared to what I'm up to. Apparently, I'm the old lady with her schedule, and every night before bed, I sit down, play myself a little Hard the Swarm match, then head over to Dota, and then lately it's been to Warcraft 3 to play Skeeby's Tower Defense. I don't know if you guys ever played that or know what I'm talking about.
No.
I imagine it's a tower defense game in Warcraft 3.
And it comes with a game now. You should check it out sometime.
Oh,
It's
really?
like it's like single-player Mario Party Tower Defense,
That sounds
where
fun.
between each wave you have a little mini game where you pretend to be like a Ghostbuster or catch all the money you can and all that sort of thing.
JT should have added to the drinking game rule. Garrett hates on tower defense because I hate tower defense.
I'll move a block to that.
I gave up on not the most recent, but the one before that. I gave up on the Assassin's Creed Revelations like after 3 hours because they put tower defense in it. I was just like, you know what? I'm not playing your game.
I'm out.
I'm done.
I heard about that.
Favorite franchise of all time? I'm done.
It was one of my favorites, and that freaking sullied it completely. That and you're playing an old man. It's like, yeah, I feel like a badass. Granted, like the animations are exactly the same, and you're still a killing machine, but I don't want to be an old dude.
Well, that was the whole sequel syndrome. At least in Kratos or with God of War, you stay the same damn guy, but you still have to go back to level 1. And that one, you go back to level 1, and you have to be a completely different guy. Ezio, what's the and you're like, no, I want to be back in the Middle East. I want to be. I'm bored.
Well, I liked that. I liked the Assassin's Creed 2 was phenomenal, and the Brotherhood was great, and I think they did like 3 more of those or something. But I liked all of them except for Revelations, which is the final one with Ezio. I just hated it, and I just recently got 3, but I haven't cracked it open yet. But yeah, there's that. I love the holidays. It's just like a gamer's. It's paradise. It's wonderful.
I very recently picked up Magic the Gathering again, and I've been doing that obsessively. It's something that I haven't really touched since I was 15, so it's nice coming back to it. With all this StarCraft knowledge and all this sort of deep understanding of strategy and how much nuance there is to something, it's like a totally different game.
Awesome.
And how much of a dumbass you were when you were younger for combining.
Oh my god, I
those
was
two
so
cards.
bad. Like, what was I thinking?
That's great. I should
You know
go
what?
back.
I need more cards in this 400 card deck. There's no minimum.
That makes me think I should get back into Pokemon and see what
You know, I actually recently jailbroke an old phone of mine and installed a Game Boy emulator.
Oh,
and actually put Pokemon on it.
I meant the card games, but okay.
Oh, yes.
No,
But
the
I
card.
think
I got all my cards from my parents' attic recently, and there's not much strategy to that game, to be honest.
yeah.
And the trainer cards are OP anyway.
Fair enough. I don't think I ever got that far. But anyways, tell me your WoW stories quickly turned into tell me your completely off-topic stories.
Well, I'll tell you my WoW related story. I've been playing a lot of Warcraft 3 because I'm so super excited about the return of the Burning Legion.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I almost marathoned that entire game with including the expansion over the summer.
Really?
Yeah, I just
It's a good game.
Well, I started it when I was on I was in Key West for a week, and it started raining like crazy, so I was just stuck with my laptop. I'm like, I guess it's Warcraft 3 time.
Yeah.
Just want to hear that tremble mortals and despair. Doom has come to your world.
That's right.
Frostmourne hungers. So very cool. Let's move on, guys, shall we, to this week's StarCraft news. All right, guys. Dustin Browder wants you to know the Warhound will not be returning. So don't even ask. Just stop. So this is from Dustin Browder got apparently a bunch of interviews at BWC, which sucked. Everyone drink Kyle. Pull a block now, because BWC sucked balls. Yeah. So
You had to pull yourself out of that pit of despair.
God, I hate PWC.
It's interesting watching the Jenga tower slowly creep up into my field of vision. Whereas before it was completely outside of the camera, now it's slowly like working its way up there.
I'm hoping for a solid face block by the end of this episode.
I'm not sure oh, there's my voice cracking when I get too high. I'm not sure the live crew can see that. What if we go to just Kyle's cam? Nope, it's just, oh, there it is. Now it's creeping up. All right, cool. Now we're good. Very cool stuff. Anyways, yeah. So Dustin Browder had interviewed a bunch of times during BWC, and some were released immediately after it, like I would assume they would have been, and apparently some have been held on to until just now. Because this was an interview with SC2 Brazil, and they talked to him about the Warhound. He said it will not be coming back. And he said the reasons for that were because it felt too much like the Marauder. He said that having Warhounds in a mech build essentially played like Bio. Players just had a mech ball, and it attacked and retreated in exactly the same way that they did with Bio, and gone was the positional fighting that was specific to mech. And then 3, he said, if we were going to make mech mech work versus Protoss, it needs to be via the siege tank, which I can't say I disagree with any of that.
Nope, everything is like, yeah, okay,
And also underneath that, it was really ugly. It looked like a portalit, and it's the worst thing Blizzard ever designed.
Oh,
Yet they gave Protoss a anti-siege tank weapon. Not specifically. The siege tank is not massive, so it does not take bonus damage from the Tempest, but
I would not really call the Tempest an anti-siege tank weapon anymore.
It's more specific now, but still, you have a siege unit with longer siege range than the siege unit, making a counter.
Yeah, I know, but it's also a completely different thing. But I mean, if you throw Vikings into the mix, all of a sudden it's less the case, right?
Yeah, and by the time a Tempest is going to be out, you can definitely, hopefully, have scouted and prepared. Thusly, Siege Tank is definitely more of a threat mid-game, whereas Tempest is going to be, almost always late game because of now it's on the Fleet Beacon again.
If they now pure speculation, if they were going to sort of try and make Protoss versus mech work as a viable matchup, how would you guys feel about sort of a mid-game upgrade, kind of like the single player, where you can have a whole bunch of different upgrades for your siege tank, like maybe something sort of along the lines of one of those, where maybe it does more damage to mechanical units, let's say, or something like that.
Can you say that one more time? Your question one more time?
Sorry, like how would you guys feel about maybe like a mid to late game upgrade where the siege tank would do more damage to, let's say, a mechanical unit?
I would like that upgrade.
If they were gonna push in that direction, right, to try and make this a viable matchup.
Yeah, so kind of like how Hydras can get the increased range or those incremental.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like speed. Well, I mean,
or maybe make it burn through shields faster. Maybe it's got some sort of slight EMP thing. I don't know.
Well, I don't think it could be shield specifically, because then it is only ever useful in TVP. It is zero use in the other two matchups, which I don't think Blizzard is ever going to do.
Yeah.
Because currently there's nothing in the game that functions that way. I mean, you have EMP, which does affect shields, but it also affects energy, making it useful in other matchups. I mean, I would very much like that kind of upgrade.
But as a Terran player, as an outside observer, I think it's kind of dumb. But like sort of integrating it like that instead of trying to make a new unit to fill whatever gap was missing.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. I mean, since you already have to upgrade siege mode for siege tanks, is there any other unit that has a specific like ability upgrade and has more than one of them? So the Baneling has speed, the Hydralisk has range, the Siege Tank has siege mode.
What if Phoenix has that? They have range.
Phoenix have range.
Don't they have another thing now?
Do they?
No, it's just range, but the Hydralisk have both the speed and the range now.
Oh, you're right. Now in Hardest One, they do have 2 available upgrades. Okay, all right. So yeah, so it's not out of character for Blizzard. Yeah, well, I'm just trying to think of like the trends that Blizzard.
No. And it's obviously a dumb idea, or they would have done it. I mean,
well, not necessarily.
Obviously, not a game designer. I mean, that listening to the show, that should be pretty obvious.
Well, if they really want it to work, they have to change a few things. They put the Immortal into the game, so it could basically be an anti-siege tank unit. you might have to get rid of that to fix this problem. I feel like it's odd that we continue here. Oh, we need mech versus Protoss when Protoss is the problem. Protoss is too cost efficient in a high damage splash situation that the siege tank shows us.
Right, because of most of the Robotech, just kind of rolls all over it, right?
Yeah, because of Robotech, because of the way shields work, because Zealots are amazing, because siege tanks can hit them once they're in range.
Basically, all of the Protoss units.
Everything every Protoss baby is basically a just symbol of death and doom for siege tanks.
Pretty much.
Actually,
you got blinking stalkers. You got your first caster unit has an anti-range shield. I mean, the list goes on, but basically,
actually, I can think of no unit that's really bad against siege tanks that Protoss has. Even Phoenixes are good against siege tanks.
Phoenixes are phenomenal against siege tanks.
So, yet we have the Battle Hellion now.
Yeah, I want to see how that works out.
And if we can actually get those things to sit nicely in front of the siege tanks, at least there's a hole there now in the Protoss army.
It's kind of interesting because I haven't, obviously it's very rare to see anybody meching against a Protoss. And so I have relatively little context.
Successful, rare.
Yeah, right, successfully. But so I have relatively little context to compare this to of how it normally works out, right? I mean, it's not something you're going to see at the GSL, right? I mean, you might see it at really low leagues, but it doesn't. I mean, that's really low leagues. That's not a point of comparison.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah. I agree. Another highlight from that same interview is he said Blizzard is waiting to talk to all the major tournament organizations before deciding what to do with some sort of 2013 BWC event. They want to hear consensus from these sources on how Blizzard can best support esports and global StarCraft 2 competition, which makes sense. Sounds good.
Cool.
I thought we already had the gut reaction from Blizzard saying, nope, it's ours now. It's going back to BlizzCon.
Yes and no.
I think they're mainly talking about the big tournaments leading up to it. So basically, sort of combining them or integrating them, or having winners from other tournaments, seeded into spots of in the BWC.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
So like the qualifiers for it, having that being integrated into other tournaments, possibly. I don't know if that's a thing.
That'd be neat, and it would make Blizzard's job a lot easier, and you would have a much easier job advertising if every single tournament out there was already going to talk about BWC and say, oh, well, he failed here, he lost at the semifinals, but hey, he can still go to BWC and spread that word around.
Right.
It definitely suffered from that, but it'd be a shame to lose the importance of the latter, and that's what made BWC so special.
I'm sure there will be a combination of it. I'm totally talking out of my ass here. I genuinely don't know what they're going to do, but that's just my wild speculation.
It doesn't sound like they know what they're going to do. So
yeah,
exactly.
And player performance, as we've seen this past year, can just wildly swing. So to have someone qualify April of this next year, only to be absolutely sucking by October of the same year.
Oh yeah, I mean we all had that reaction when we were looking at the BWC brackets. It's just like, dear God, none of the people who are currently kicking ass are in this tournament.
No, it's a great assortment of everyone who was cool.
Well, not even just that. I mean, like, a lot of it is there aren't necessarily that many people from that country that is, going to compete at that high level.
Yeah. No. Anyways, Browder also, he did a much more recent interview with Husky, who I believe we're all fans of. Lord knows, I think he was most of our first shoutcaster that we watched. I know he was for me. But yeah, he sat down with Dustin Browder, and this is just a gold mine. We're going to touch on some of the really exciting stuff that came up in this interview, but it is worth a watch. Like, I really recommend going over to Husky's YouTube channel and checking this thing out. But Browder, they're talking lots of Heart of the Swarm. He said that Blizzard is still unsure on the best size and structure for clans. they said due to the intended competitive focus, that is why. You know, they don't want clans to be a invite a ton of people and win clan wars via pure numbers type of thing, and that the 50 members cap is their best guess at this point, but it may change in the future.
If there's any sort of structured clan wars and they're going by just whoever has the greater number of wins, we're in big trouble. It just doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, you would have to pick a limited roster and have an equal amount of people on either side, right?
Yeah, that's
so. This whole statement just seems nonsensical.
Yeah,
if you have a clan war with like 50 versus 100 people, like.
Well, I was hoping that they would just make massive maps and just have the whole clan just start as whatever and just go at it, man.
Everybody zones in. It's literally the size of a planet.
Oh, that actually sounds kind of exciting. Let's make it happen, map makers. Granted, I don't know how any computer on Earth will run that many units. Okay. But, hey, get a doghouse system. They talked a little bit about groups, and obviously Husky, being an internet personality, was concerned about what's going to happen with people stealing and squatting on significant group names like Husky or MLG or, in our case, StarCast and This Week in Blizz. And he said that Dustin said that they will be willing to kick squatters off of group names they shouldn't legitimately have, which makes me happy.
That's good.
I wish this was the case with the internet in general.
Yeah. I think frequently that is the case in certain countries. For URLs and stuff. Yeah, like, you're not Garrett Weinzierl and you're doing nothing with the domain. I would like that. Thank you very much. Didn't Microsoft do something with that with the Halo 4 domain? Because some dude just bought it and wanted like tons of money for it. Oh God! And they're just like, you don't own the rights to this IP. I don't know. Would you really want to take on Microsoft lawyers? Apparently, I don't know. They talked a little bit about there will be automated tournaments, especially in light of clan support. It is something that Blizzard really wants to do, but definitely will not implement with Heart of the Swarm. They are aiming for introducing this in Legacy of the Void. So, hey, we've got our first thing that we can just be like, when is this coming? When is this coming? When it comes to Legacy of the Void. Yeah. Yep. It sounds awesome. I want to see this. Yeah, it does. So, and I don't know why this was not in Wings of Liberty Day 1. Like, there's a lot of things that I wonder why they weren't in Wings of Liberty in Day 1. Like, I understand there are a lot of work or whatever, but some of these just seem like no-brainers. I mean, I know we constantly hear that the StarCraft team is small. And this sounds like it would take a lot of infrastructure to impose. I would love to see something a little more casual than this. If you're not part of a first-rank clan, if it's automated, you could end up wasting an entire day in a joke going against some clan that's been matched against your clan, and it's a waste of your time. I would much rather see something like what Mass Effect 3 did, where it would be like a crazy weekend where it's all ZVZ 3v3s, and if everyone who participates, if a certain number of Zerg players lose or a certain number of Zerg players win, everyone gets a portrait. Right. I don't. It doesn't sound like they're being clan specific though. I think this is independent of the clan system. I think they're just having automated tournaments. I wouldn't be surprised if like you had ones related to League, let's say. Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, that'd be. Here's another thing. Why hasn't this already been in the game? But yeah, I mean, they said especially in light of clan support, that this is something they really want, and since clan support is coming now, it's something they really want to push because they'd like to integrate it with clan, but I don't think it's going to be clan specific, and I hope it's not. So yeah, I hope it's not. I like that Mass Effect 3 analogy was good. I have never played Mass Effect multiplayer. I forgot it had it. It's fun. Yeah, you're borrowing my copy. You might not be able to. No, I'll probably need to get a online pass, I think is what they're called. It's all sorts of DRM. There's a bit of an uproar about it. Yeah, fighting against like GameStop and all that stuff. The reselling essentially. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Ben, anything you'd like to see out of the automated tournaments? I would like to see ones of different level leagues. Yeah. And an interesting prize, but I'd like to see small ones, like really small bracketed or sort of. Even if they were like Swiss rounds, like I think that would be cool. Not huge, gigantic ones, but you could just join a random tournament. Like that would be great. Yeah.
I'd like
Like
to.
if it was like like Q4 to find match or whatever, if there was a little bit more excitement to it, and you could it would throw you in a chat channel with the other people in the tournament, and you could sort of discuss stuff with them, and like games would happen, and it would match you up automatically. It would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I'd like to see them and even like do like an announce on like the announcement feed for when people win in-game tournaments, kind of like when someone slays a raid boss in WoW.
I'm sure you'll see that within your clan.
Well, yeah, I would assume that, but I think it'd be cool, like, if like it's the weekly gold level tournament, so it doesn't flood it. There'll be at max one person for every league announced a week or something. That'd be kind of cool.
I would
Right, but
like
you
to
have
see
to have an
something
advanced tournament. I don't
real
think Blizzard-
slow.
True.
Something
I don't
almost like. Oh, sorry. That
Okay.
was my
Jenga
fault,
blocks.
but I'll Jenga block. I'll Jenga block. No, I'm going to change the topic, so go for it, Ben.
All right.
No, what I was going to say is Blizzard isn't in the business of excluding anybody from any content. So what's going to happen is that everybody's going to have tons of tiny little tournaments that they're able to do. Right? There will literally be thousands of tournaments happening at the same time, even if there are only like 8 people. Right? But I would be very, very surprised if you had one tournament for each league. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
It would be real cool to have these Blizzard sanctioned tournaments that come out each week and everyone just kind of joins them, and that I'd love to see something a little more like chess by mail almost. Something that alerts your friends, you and your friends get into a tournament, set up your own bracket, and then every time one of your friends logs on, it shoots you an email and says, your opponent is online. Would you like to get on?
Oh.
Exactly. And after like 3 queues, if you continue to not be able to answer, they advance. You have to drop out. But it still can stay
kinda
very
cool.
localized with your friends.
God, that would make
No.
doing our StarCast Open so much easier.
You know what'd be
Yes.
cool too?
Yeah.
Let's say each tournament, like if they have a weekly tournament or whatever it may be for each league, or maybe not even by league, they just have a weekly tournament or a daily tournament even, like $10 entry fee, and it all goes into a prize pool.
Yeah. I mean, they obviously, I mean, with like the Diablo 3 Real Money Auction House, they're now no strangers to kind of setting up that kind of stuff.
Exactly, and if you can go, you know what, I'm going to join, and this is what I get. I get a cool like little custom portrait for it, just for participating. It's my door prize, and then there's a decent chance because there's a prize pool that I'll go up against some really stellar people. Maybe I'll play a couple of pros.
Yeah, but that's the problem
knows?
with that is you would immediately just cut off all those people who could enter because pros would be after that money.
Yeah, but that's great because that builds more community support. And if you have lots of little tournaments going on all the time, having these big ones happening occasionally is, still beneficial to the game.
Draws more attention to the feature.
Right,
in general.
and it makes it accessible, right? It makes it way more accessible for people that, let's say I'm a low masters player, and I go, you know what, maybe I should go to like a tournament or something and play in some sort of open bracket. Being able to do that online is kind of an interesting introduction to that without having to, go somewhere and have my equipment and like set up my little keyboard at the LAN party or whatever.
Wouldn't that start to get into the realm of what is considered gambling though? And then they'd have to deal with all sorts of
Why is it gambling?
legal, because you're paying, you're putting in X amount of dollars in hopes of winning.
Every single tournament in the world is like that. They all have entry fees.
Yeah, but
Well, seriously, like serious question. Any online tournament that's not related to Blizzard
yeah, that's a good
probably
point.
has an entry fee and probably has a prize pool. It's a competition. It's not gambling.
All right. I was thinking about online poker. You can't play for real money anymore, but that is straight up gambling. So,
Right.
all right, okay, fair enough. So cool. They talk. Oh, Kyle, was there a specific subject you wanted to bring on? You said you were changing the subject,
Before I interrupted you.
and the Jenga tower got higher.
That's basically it. This is a very interesting topic, and it's going to take a lot of thought. And clearly, it takes a lot of thought on Blizzard's part as well.
Yeah.
I would love to see these sort of things support the lower end folk, but the second you add money into it, and the second you add any sort of prize to it, you immediately start inviting people who are just going to school others. These work much better in situations where there's more of an element of luck, like a Magic draft. Yeah, you can know the skills and know all the cards that you're getting into. But ultimately, there's that element
Well,
that keeps everything fair.
Who said it had to be exclusively for money?
Right,
Yeah.
right. My notion was basically you'd have like a daily big tournament or whatever, but then you'd have like lots of little ones that are going on too, right? And that's where you could sort of like test your mettle and see how you do, see how you perform, and do that kind of thing. Like it's not just. And your comparison to a Magic Draft kind of works, but everybody is on equal footing. I mean, let's be honest. Like, if you have some Magic Pro at your local game store that's schooling everybody in the draft, it's also because they not play better, right? It's not exclusively luck, and everybody's on equal footing here. Nobody's got access to like better units or something, right?
This just took a dive into, I think, what might have been the nerdiest conversation we've ever had on the show.
And this is about video games, so it's
I
pretty nerdy.
know.
A feature I would like to see way before that kind of tournament ever happens is this tournament is going on right now. Click here to watch in the client and check it out. Because the last thing I want to see is another list of tournaments going on right now. And hey, you're missing Blizzard Online tournament 105 for the year.
That would be phenomenal. Click here to watch, and it would just like restream it.
Or live stream it, but yeah, I mean, we don't need.
But you wouldn't be
you
wouldn't be a person sitting in on the game actually watching the game. Is my point. It wouldn't affect the players.
Yeah, it would, like,
Yeah, sure.
Take what freaking Dota 2 does. I said freaking Jenga block. And drink. Everyone. They just pull in the HTML of the Twitch feed. Like, and it's just embedded in the client. Like, that's why you're not killing Twitch, because that was everyone's original, like,
right,
if Blizzard builds it in the client, then Twitch and Owned go under. Just build that into the client. Done.
And honestly, watching most Twitch feeds is not that fun. If I can see, but the thing is, I want to be able to sit in the client, and instead of watching a video, I want to actually be watching like a replay, if that makes sense. Like I want to have the real stuff rendered in front of me, not a crappy compressed version of it. Like I want to be observing a game, right?
Well,
even if it's slightly delayed, I'm sure the tech can be built.
well, there's a reason a lot of pros don't release their replays, though.
Oh, sure, but if you're taking part in a big tournament, I mean, that's pretty public.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I would rather watch it with casters, and I would rather not have to control
Oh, absolutely,
the camera
which
myself.
is why casters will still do well. But if there's something specific you want to watch, or you want to, I don't know, watch your next opponent in the bracket of the tournament, it's not watching them practice secretly. It's being able to watch the people participating in the big tournament of the week or whatever.
Okay.
Which is now a feature, by the way, Garrett. You can go into your options and turn off saving any sort of replays. So no one could ever check your profile again.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I thought Ben was talking about something a little different then. All right. I don't think I'd ever use that feature, but all right.
You wouldn't join just like as a random 8-man tournament in your league?
Not to watch it. It's
No,
literally
to play
zero interest. Yeah, to play it, but you're talking about just from an observing standpoint.
Why not? But it would let people it would let casters restream stuff live. Like they would be able to stream the game and cast over it.
What this would really get used for is the other feature that's coming with Heartless Swarm, which is start from replay. And you would download that replay, and then you take a video of why you won in the situation where Idra failed and made it.
Well,
Yes.
there needs to be a player on the other end. There still needs to be a player controlling the other.
Don't bring your facts here.
units.
Catch
no-
me now, streaming MLG 2013, while I win where everyone lost.
Yep.
That would be so phenomenal until the first episode of Inside the Game when Idra gets on and just says, "You're all a bunch of dumb dickheads. This would never work." So, yeah. And then he posts a picture of his cat, and it would get the #1 on Reddit. They talked a little bit about the custom observer UI editing that's coming very soon, and Browder said that you can really edit almost anything we've got in that UI, and he said you can even add stuff that does not exist right now. He said that stats that are not currently available in the UI you can script and put in yourself. So
GSL is going to be thrilled.
Yeah, GSL's gonna be so happy.
Here's a weird statistic.
Here's the useless stat. MKP has won 30% of the matches where he wasn't wearing socks. Take a drink, because Garrett talked about MKP.
Yep, we're gonna see some completely useless things, and it'll have
it
the
will
game
be glorious.
Yeah, and this will be like game running in the background stuff, like which player has idle Marines the most.
Yeah, I mean, Dustin gets a little more into the useful things about it. He said he's really excited about casters like Husky, who he was talking to, getting their hands on it and really kind of figuring out what things should be added and become the kind of status quo for StarCraft observing. And I'm all for this. They're just crowdsourcing this now. It's like the early days of WoW. They made the add-on tools available so early that if anyone had issues with it, they just fixed it themselves. And if we don't like the way the current observing feature is set up, we can just fix it. And obviously there's the argument of like, well, now Blizzard will never try and fix anything themselves. I don't care. I'd rather see what the community does.
Well, and we've seen some wonderful features be implemented into WoW permanently that came from add-ons.
Oh, I know there are, but I still think that the standard UI is pretty bunked in that game. But
yeah, it's kind of it doesn't perform as well as it should. It's fine for levels 1 through 25, and then after that, it's kind of a headache. But the thing that's important to note about this is just because it's customizable does not mean that it's add-ons that are written by third parties, right? What you're looking at here is basically just user interface elements that you'll be able to just move around and change, but that are very clearly made by Blizzard. So I don't think anybody's going to be like, Blizzard isn't going to go, oh, it's broken, sorry, not my problem. They're definitely going to be actively working on this. If it's a bad experience, then it's very publicly a bad experience for everybody. So that's not something they really want to do.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. Kyle, any thoughts?
No, all's been shared.
All right. We talked about resume from replay.
Yay.
Yeah.
I like this. This is cool.
This next point is probably what I'm more excited about than anything else. They say currently shared viewing of replays is 100% on target to ship with Heart of the Swarm.
Nailed it.
I'm so excited. I'm so freaking excited. It's going to make it so much easier for like us to try and like cast from replays or something, like when the StarCast Open's going on and stuff like that.
Oh, and just as a learning tool, it's going to be amazing. The number of times you had to, even if I'm teaching someone in the background how to play, it's basically like, I'm going to go get a snack. You watch the replay and tell me what you did wrong. That's not helpful.
What did you do wrong?
Yeah,
I guess I didn't build enough SCVs. Exactly.
Yeah, now you can like pause it. You can ping on the map. All right, look right here. Okay, watch this. All right, that is where you sucked.
See how many Marines you're queuing up? Yeah.
Don't do that. I know Day 9 says it's safe to overqueue a few SCVs, but you're not supposed to fill the queue up. Well, there's that. They talked about training mode, which sounds interesting. It's kind of be this building block of learning, of teaching you from the very ground level of how to play StarCraft. And gentlemen,
in multiplayer, not in single player, which is distinctly different.
Right. And what's the mantra of today's episode? Why wasn't this in Wings of Liberty? It starts the player off against easy AI at normal game speed and is a very limited tech tree. So you can't build everything there is to build. There will be detailed prompts for things like which building to create, how many workers to create, when to expand, etc. They said that subsequent games in the training mode will slowly amp up the AI difficulty, increase the game speed, and expand the tech tree while continuing the detailed prompts. Eventually, it'll guide you into unranked play, which will allow learning against real players. They said, without the feeling of someone watching you and judging you. Nothing more I like than being judged by a computer.
Yep.
And they said finally ranked ladder play is then suggested. So basically let's contrast this with Wings of Liberty, in which ranked ladder play was the standard suggestion for all new multiplayer players.
I want this to be like Mario Kart, where it's like, whoop, whoop, oh no, you're going the wrong way.
You're probably building the wrong units for the composition you scouted.
Is a Mutalisk going to come down and pull your unit off of the grab it with a fish hook and land it back down. And then your SCV will spin out when he tries to pick up the minerals again.
You tried building before you had stopped landing.
God. I think that's cool. I think I like the sort of slow integration as opposed to throwing new players to the wolves completely and letting them die a lot before they figure out whether or not they like this game.
Yep. God, Kyle, do you remember when we first got our Wings of Liberty beta keys?
I do.
Just like, all right, let's load this thing up. All right, what do I got? I got 1v1. All right, let's do this. And there are 6 Zerglings in my base. Game over. Right.
This would have been a horrible feature at the start of Wings of Liberty for the scene. It would have stopped so many prominent people that we now know of from making beautiful content and entertaining us and teaching us how to play a game. In today's world, noobs are kind of a waste of your time, to be perfectly honest. Someone says, I want to learn how to play this game. You're like, oh, awesome. You want to get into start? Well, you're kind of late. And you can't just leave them in a room with a campaign because that's wrong. And you don't want to sit there and tell. This is a great feature.
Yes. I've never seen you shit on noobs this hard.
Well, there's a time and place for teaching someone how to play games, and I'm all for it. And I certainly want to take that time. Like, I am planning to do a big learn to play Dota night some point in the near future. But if you randomly come to me in the middle of the night when I'm queuing up for my last game before I go to bed and said, teach me how to play, or even worse, surprise me that you want to play, and then when we get in, say, what are we doing? I go, what?
My last game of the
You seem to be speaking from personal experience here.
A little bit of experience.
I've been there for some of these experiences. Yeah, I agree. So good on that. So make sure you go check this out. Really, really should go over to youtube.com/HuskyStarCraft and watch this because it's an awesome freaking interview. Keep saying freaking. Drink, Jenga Block, go. And then finally, we had the 9th beta balance. Guys, Ben, why don't you lead off? I already talked about this on StarCast.
Stuff, medevac, Caduceus Reactor. One cool thing is that when you have Caduceus Reactor upgrade now, it changes the color of the healing beam.
Yeah.
And I like this. This was marked as boring in the show notes, and I think it's distinctly not boring because it's a cool sort of visual cue. I like it when, I think it's roach speed or roach movement speed. Burrow speed, burrow movement, whichever one it is. Burrow movement. That's the one I'm thinking of. When roach burrow movement shows the spikes on the roaches, right? It's a cool visual cue that changes the model and it does something distinct. And I think that is a good change, right? Stuff that happens on the battlefield instead of something that you need to look at the little informational tab at the bottom to see how much energy they have or whatever. This lets you parse information more quickly, and I like it. It's a good change. I think.
Oh, absolutely.
I still think it's a boring change. I think it's needed, and I like it.
See, but it needs more of these across the board. Then it becomes an interesting change.
You think 1, 1, 2, 2, and 3, 3 for every single unit should have different visual cues?
Oh, that'd be so sexy. Yes, please.
I think now that I've said it, yeah, I kind of agree with you. It's actually not too bad.
And make that Ultralisk skin the 3/5. Actually take when you get all badassed up to your top upgrade, make those Marines with numbers on the side of their helmets and skulls over their faceplates.
Right, making the badass Marines as opposed to just the piddly blue ones.
Well, we have so many upgrades that don't do anything. I mean, the first time when we were talking about beta here for first time Wings of Liberty, I remember getting in my first game and going, oh my god, Zergling wings. This is incredible. Look at the new state of technology. They actually look like they might go faster.
Oh my god, 3D graphics.
Well, yes, that first.
Well, I mean, it's not just that, though. I mean, if you look at, let's say, is there one for Hydralisk range? There isn't, is there?
No, but that'd be great.
Nope. Yeah, right. But what I'm saying is,
technically, there is. You're getting shot sooner than you would have before approaching as Hydra.
But I would like to see a visual change to accompany that, anything that's not a straight 1 damage increase on melee, right? I would love to see that because they're substantial and they do different things, and I think it's cool.
I want to
Or
see.
even if it's a passive, a passive look, like let's say you get the Raven energy upgrade or whatever it is, and it glows a slightly different color, like it's got the lights are a different color or whatever it may be. Like it can be really small,
Yeah.
but I think that's cool, and I think that is more content in the end, and it gives you more variety and stuff looks different. It's not all the same.
Yeah. The armory, the vehicle and ship upgrades are now once again separate, but the armor upgrade is still combined.
Okay, so this is sort of a balance between the two.
Right. So, yeah, having vehicle and ship weapon upgrades conjoined didn't last very long. I wonder why.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be different if it was like if it wasn't mech. That's where the problem came from. This would be okay with bio and air because then you actually kind of a decision because, well, maybe I'll do armor, maybe I'll do, but mech is where all your siege units are going to be, and you're going to get bonus damage.
Right. It's all in the damage. It's not in like, oh, I have an advantage because I'm more maneuverable. It's
Yeah,
nothing
or-
like that.
yeah.
It's straight up how much damage can I do in this brief second.
And
Yeah.
you don't have those tiny little qualifiers like you do with the early units like bio, like Zerglings, where that one armor, hey, that means you could take an extra zealot punch.
Right.
Yeah. The
It's much more drastic.
Complicated.
yeah.
Yes.
The Oracle Pulsar Beam got changed. What a surprise. Its activation now costs 25 energy and now drains 2 energy per second, down from 4. More interesting, though, the Tempest, the kinetic overload weapon damage versus massive, it was increased from 30 to 50, so a pretty substantial buff there. They're really hammering home that they want this to, be a late game answer to massive. So, and this obviously also on the heels of Vortex being just horrendously nerfed, so something needs to come out of the Protoss that's good against Brood Lords.
I almost had a heart attack because I misread Tempest earlier on in the show notes, like when I was reading through them before the show. I misread Tempest as Templar in relation to Dark Shrine, and I thought that DTs were doing 50 damage versus massive.
That would be the stuff of nightmares. If there
Actually, DTs might do 50 damage. I don't know how much damage they do, but a lot.
whatever the case is. Speaking of the Dark Shrine, its cost was increased from 100 to 100 to 150 150. Thank you, God. Feel free to make that more expensive.
Yeah, I'm not gonna-
Again. And this was not in the patch notes, but it is confirmed. Protoss can now warp in on ramps once again. But warping up cliffs is not possible, or still not possible.
I was close, by the way. They do 45 damage without upgrades.
All right.
Never
Go
mind.
Dark Templar.
Yeah.
Back to the bowels of hell.
Why
once
do you
again.
think they made this change? With the warping, I mean.
I think it's just something that they've been doing across the board on Heart of the Swarm, because now we can also creep tumor on ramps. Whereas before we could
but
not.
I mean, before you couldn't. They changed it specifically so you couldn't warp in on a ramp because of PvP. So is Mothership
really?
for the argument now? Like, yeah.
Oh,
Right?
I don't know.
Am I wrong? Like, it's specifically because 4K was so powerful, you just warp in on the ramp, call it a day.
That's a good
And then
point.
they
God,
changed
that was,
it because of that specifically.
That was forever
We also
ago.
had that site debuff come after that, though. So now you can't see as far when you're going up the ramp.
Right, and in this case, you can only do it on the ramp now. Once you get vision up, it's not like you can,
You can still not warp up a cliff.
which is dumb. I think it should be the other way around. I think you should not be able to do it on a ramp, but you should be able to do it up a cliff.
Why the hell would you be able to do it up a cliff but not on a ramp?
I don't know, like, from a pure gameplay perspective, not like from a logic one. I like it. I like it better to be able to warp onto different levels. It seemed cooler to me.
$10 says that becomes one of Tash's memes tomorrow morning.
Yes, Greyfire, you can still warp down a cliff. And with the Mothership Core, you can still use that to teleport all your units into a base if that's what you desire.
Right, or even just a what's it called?
A recall?
Paper airplane.
Paper airplane.
The transportation unit for the Protoss.
Oh, warp prism.
Warp prism. Thank you.
Paper airplane. I think takes a lot more hits than a paper plane did.
Now it
it
does.
is.
It didn't used to.
It didn't, yeah, well, oh yeah, like 6 months ago. And then finally, a really interesting change. The Mutalisk now has a passive ability called Mutalisk Regeneration, which regenerates their health. Their base health regeneration, as just a Zerg in general, was 0.27, etc. It is now a solid 1. Massive health regen upgrade.
So what's like? So these are just sort of random numbers, you know. Is this comparable to, let's say, burrowed roaches?
I don't think so. I think burrowed roaches are still faster than this.
Yeah, no, barrel roaches a haul ass. One of the biggest comparison you can make is to the new combat drugs on the Reaper, which is 2 health per second after being 10 seconds out of combat. Clearly, this is phenomenal in comparison.
Yeah, this is all the time. In combat, out of combat.
So, what is the basic notion here? That basically once your mutas are bruised, they're worthless? Like, you have to start being really careful.
Right, that mutas
so
are
this just gives them more longevity?
Yeah, mutas are utterly useless in late game, I think is what they're trying to combat here.
And as you approach late game, you have extremely expensive, useless units that you need to get rid of for supply sake, but you put so much early money into them and skipped a lot of upgrades to have all these mutas as well. It's a lose situation for the Zerg. Why not go straight Broodlords? But this past week has been disgusting. Absolutely disgusting on the ladder.
How so?
Mutalisk-wise?
Oh, just thousands, millions, flocks. No
flocks of mutas.
It's my high school band name. Yeah, that's insane.
Well, and you've gotten rid of the primary counter for it, which is a infester that works. And the new fester does not work. It will work with time, sure, and eventually I'll be able to aim that damn thing. But right now, Mutalisks are way too fast.
What you're saying specifically for ZVZ, I mean, we still have the Thor with its massive AOE, bonus damage to light.
But, I mean, this is clearly intended to make, sort of an accidental Thor volley, slight miscontrol, slightly less punishing. You know what I mean? Where that one volley doesn't suddenly take them out of the game, even though they're still all alive. They're way too hurt to sort of engage properly.
Right. You don't need to bring them back and hope to God that you miss so many injects that you can transfuse them all back to full health.
Oh God, I hope I'm playing badly.
I'm playing badly. I really need to heal up these mutas. So yeah.
I don't know. Hydras are phenomenal right now, so I really enjoyed using them this week to combat all the mutas, and they do great. But I think every race is going to have difficulty with this across the board because they're too good right now. They are massable, and for the entire game.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see a slight nerf to this or a buff to the current muta counters.
I can see the low leagues just being you have to cannon up your base entirely before you leave to go attack. It's just not.
Yeah,
not viable to do anything else.
That's not even spatially viable. When you get over 30 mutas flocking around,
and they all bounce, all the glaives bounce.
Yep.
Oh man,
that's ridiculous.
That's disgusting. Anyways, interesting to see how this pans out. That if this is long for this world or not. I'm not sure that it is. Anyways, guys, that about does it. We have completed 2012's.
And we're skipping over Diablo completely.
Well, there's nothing to talk about.
Oh, add some Jenga blocks.
other than I've been super stoked to play again. Actually, this holiday, I've been having a real Diablo itch.
Have you played?
No.
No, but you're excited too.
Yes. Me and Kristen are going to definitely sit down and turn it all the way up, highest difficulty from the beginning, because that's all I wanted. I just wanted to get my ass kicked from the beginning. I didn't want to play through 3 times, be bored with it, and then get my butt whooped.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. Did you guys ever finish your stories in the Old Republic MMO?
No. But I mean, it's MMO, man. Like that. You can redress and everyone can wear a new costume, but you still move around the same way. So I've had to say no to that, sadly. As much as I want to and as impassioned as she's been in finishing our stories, there's no way I'd play any World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that's also a very good point. Right. Yeah, it's still to this day.
You were seriously compromising the structural integrity of your Jenga tower.
That's the point of Jenga. Unless you go out with this like tools. and double handing. That's why people they're like, I'm gonna hold this up while I take out every sinve metal one.
Nonsense.
Why don't you just play blocks then? This is Jenga.
This is Jenga. This is a man's game.
I've seen Brian, actually, Kyle, your old roommate, play Jenga exactly how you are right now.
Oh, he's terrible. Well, he does that stuff to piss you off on purpose.
And he has like he has a really little dainty like finger poke, and then he's like, it's funny. Anyways, guys, listeners, thank you for joining us through our maiden voyage, our first year of the show. There goes the Jenga blocks.
Thank God.
And
if we'd ended the show and the Jenga block tower was still very much intact, I think it would have been a sad day.
Indeed, it would.
Now I will play blocks.
So, anyways, yeah, great first year, guys. We'll be starting. I'm trying to look at the calendar. When will our next episode be?
Sometime in January.
Yeah, we'll do January 7th. Why not? We'll take 2 weeks off. So Monday, January 7th, we will be back on the same channel, same time. 8 o'clock Eastern Time on twitch.tv/AMoveTV.
Yep.
It's outro time, ladies and gents. This Week in Blizz is a production of amove.tv. You can see more about our show over at thisweekinblizz.com. You can email us at thisweekinblizz@gmail.com, and you can catch us live every Monday night except for the next 2 weeks at 8 p.m. on twitch.tv/AMoveTV. Follow us on Twitter at thisweekinblizz. You can follow me at Garrett Art. You can follow Kyle at Kyle Ferguson. You can follow Ben, finally has a Twitter, and I really need to get added to the overlay. As a matter of fact, I think that might be one of the things I'll be doing over the break is making a new overlay for the show. It direly needs a redressing. Yeah, you can follow Ben at Pixel Garbage. You can join us in WoW at versustheworldguild.com. That's vstheworldguild.com. Fill out an application. Come check out our forums. Talk to us. And roll a tune over on Lightbringer US on the Alliance side. And find us in the game. You can find Kyle and I both over on StarCast, the StarCraft podcast, if you didn't get your fix. And please tune in this Thursday at 8 p.m. on the same channel, because it is our final StarCast of 2012, and we're doing an all call-in special. You can call us and be on the show. We're going to be doing it for probably about 2 hours, talking to fans and people from the community who help us out with the show, and just having an all-around good time talking StarCraft, talking the show. I'm sure getting into wildly off-topic conversations. It'll be a lot of fun. Ben, you should call in.
I should. It's a good idea.
Yeah, should be a good time. So tune in over at thestarcast.com. Kyle, where can people find you?
You can find me at Biggest Fan Podcast, where we follow the fad that's driving you mad. And this next week is The Hobbit, or more importantly, J.R. Tolkien as a whole. I doubt we'll be getting much into the Silmarillion, but
that's a slog.
I have just received the text. We are doing a seen unseen sort of version of the show. Brockett has seen the Hobbit movie. I will have only seen the cartoon and read the book. So we will be comparing our thoughts on the Hobbit there.
Oh, well, I thought you were going to go see it tomorrow so you can see it on Biggest Fan.
Well, yeah, but that's the point of a seen unseen, where he's seen the movie and I haven't.
Oh.
So you get to talk more objectively about it.
Gotcha.
And I ask probing
by
questions.
having no notion of what it's about, right?
Well, I could say, so how was the Goblin King? In my version, he was super layman from the 70s.
And in his version, he will be the most disgusting, vile creature you've ever seen. Wonderful. Good. Spoiler alert, the Goblin King is ugly. Yes, I'm sorry that I ruined your experience of the film. Go see the Hobbit. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this year of This Week in Blizz. Please go check out our sponsors, doghouse-systems.com and tweakedaudio.com. Our code is TWIB. That's TWIB. It'll get you double memory on your next Doghouse system. Gaming rig. Dear God, they're awesome. I don't think it's too late to get one for Christmas. You should go over there and grab one. They are amazing. And pick yourself something up. I'm going to be grabbing myself some Far Cry 3 soon, and I'm going to be jacking that sucker all the way to high settings thanks to my Doghouse Systems gaming rig. That same code will get you 30% off and free shipping on your entire order of earbuds from tweakedaudio.com. Fill up those stockings, guys. Go! Do it now! What are you waiting for? Go to the chopper. Filled with earbuds. So, there is that. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Bye. It's been a real pleasure.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Oh god, I'm sick of Christmas music.